Kylee always was a kid who would push herself. I remember when she was doing her dancing, she just absolutely loved it. But she kept on getting told off for not standing up straight.
Straighten those knees.
We didn't understand it at the time, but she had a crooked spine.
I constantly fell and tripped, broke bones, sprained ankles. My body just wasn't like other kids' bodies.
We started off, you know, go to the doctor, get it sorted, this will be fine. Then we were put through to another doctor, and then another doctor, and sort of suddenly the weeks were turning into months. The months turned into years, and we're still, give us an answer, what's going on? One of the specialists said, I think it is Ehlers-Danlos, and we went through all the different diagnoses that the doctors had given over the years. And here were all these little flags that had been coming up, but we didn't understand them.
I have a connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. Connective tissue is your collagen, and collagen is the glue that holds every cell of our bodies together. Our bones, joints, internal organs, skin, everything.
And then you're going to go up and you're going to run it up my arm.
There's literally a piece in my DNA that is missing, so there's no cure. It has been getting worse over time.
And Kylee and I have talked about death and what it will look like in the end. The struggle of that, the reconciling living a day-to-day life and wanting to do well tomorrow and today, and yet going, oh man, it could be tomorrow. You know, it could be in a short while, or it could not.
There definitely have been times when I think all I can offer Kylee is just a hug. You know, I'm not someone who lives with a disability or with chronic illness or debilitating pain, so all I can offer her is just my friendship.
I know that when people suffer, and we see a lot of suffering in the pain clinic, that people may not feel like life is a gift and may not feel that they are valuable to their families and their community. But I think it's often hard for patients to see their own value, and often it is in plain sight for people around them, but they often perceive themselves as of a lesser value or invaluable to society just because they have an irremediable problem such as pain or a condition such as the one that Kylee suffers from.
What happens then if one or two of those doctors were to talk with me about euthanasia? It would be very, very difficult for me to exclude that from my mind. I would feel a sense of pressure. All of a sudden, I'm having to consider things I've never had to consider before. The cost of my treatment, or am I worthy of it? Should I have it, or is it just more of a burden on society? And what happens when society starts having conversations about the fact that, well, why are we supporting her when she's eligible for euthanasia? Because if she had euthanasia, we could redirect this money over here.
A society that sees us as disabled as having lost all function, as being meaningless or as being a burden. In fact, I've read the comments on social media where as soon as this topic comes up, people tell us to kill ourselves, that we're a waste of money. Don't waste any more resources on disabled because only able-bodied should have them. So it's an indication that there's nowhere near any sense of safety for a lot of disabled who are trying to live.
We know that generally people can't afford the medications. And so for many of them, they make the choice of not bothering to have the treatment. And not because they want to die, of course they don't want to die, but because they simply have no choice. No one ever said to me, look, I want to get assistance for me to die. They wanted to be assisted to live and to live their life in the fullest way that was possible for them.
We need to consider how can we lift the mana of those in our community who are so vulnerable.
There will always be those people, and we think, you know, that euthanasia will relieve some of that, and it won't. In fact, you'll have a society that's less resilient and less able to bear the weight with those people that do choose to stay. If every time something got hard, we decided, no, I'll just cut that off, we'd never see people that change the world.
It's also not a good and healthy message when you've got people who may be suicidal or have suicide ideations in periods of time. When something goes hard, that society turns around and says, well, maybe end your life, darling. It'd be less burden for everybody, and you'll be out of it all. And that type of message is becoming more common, rather than the message that, look, we're going to look after you, we're going to care for you from the cradle to the grave.
What Kylee has decided in herself, that she's going to be one of those lights that says, hey, yeah, it sucks and it's hard and I get frustrated and I get angry and I cry and all of that stuff, but that's for a moment. I'm still focused on living.
The irony is, we have one of the highest youth suicide rates in the world, and we're having a conversation about, you know, young people and suicide and don't kill yourself and there's life and there's things to live for. And yet, on the other hand, we're having a conversation about euthanasia where we're saying it's okay to want to end your life, but actually it's not my irremediable medical health condition that's causing my suffering, it's my mental health and it's my headspace.
There are many deeper issues that sometimes perpetuates the pain or keep people stuck in their dire situation. And it's really important that as a pain physician, your patient trusts you enough to disclose information that you can work out what is really going on. And it often affects patients on multiple levels.
Now, under the bill as it stands, I'm encouraged to talk to my family, but I'm also told I don't have to. So the very first thing my family could know about my euthanasia is by receiving my death certificate.
Of course you don't want your family to suffer, but I think the implications of this bill are wider than that.
It's not just as simple as just saying no, because there becomes all the pressure of expectation and burdenship. And all of a sudden, I feel like, well, maybe I have to make that decision. And if even one or two of my doctors were to have the conversation of euthanasia with me, their voice and their opinion carries weight.
I feel quite sad because what it does, it undermines the essential things that we believe in as tangata whenua, saying that that's of no consequence. I wouldn't do it, and I would hope that others would think very carefully about what might rest on their minds into the future.
I want them fighting for her to live, not to be encouraging her to die, because they put a value on life of what it could be like.
Also wanting to do with my life? Yeah.
That girl who wanted to swing the highest, run the fastest, pushing herself to the limits, even though her body has changed, it's got older, but it's also got health issues, but those same traits are there.
Euthanasia is so final. There's no second chance. There's no coming back. And I know so many people who were given a short life expectancy, 6 months less, who are now living life still 2, 5, 10 years later. And for those who choose euthanasia in that situation, that's it, it's final. And you miss out on all that's to come. And the family has a process that they have to grieve through as well, and question and wonder, well, could the doctors have actually had it wrong? Despite the fact that my health has progressed and my condition has deteriorated, I live an amazing life. And it looks different and it's not the same and there's struggles, but there's still life.